My name is Rowana A. Vihar. In this video, we are going to discuss about ecological relationships in an ecosystem. But before that, let us first define what is an ecosystem. An ecosystem includes all the living things, just like plants, animals, and organisms in a given area interacting with each other and with their non-living environments like weather, earth, sun, soil, climate, and atmosphere. There are two primary parts of an ecosystem, the biotic and abiotic parts. The biotic part is made up of all the living things like plants, animals, fungi, bacteria, and viruses, while the abiotic part is made up of all non-living things like rocks, minerals, water, and energy. Ecosystems can be of any size. It may be a whole forest or coral reef. An ecosystem can be a small pond or even the area of net a large rock. Ecosystem needs energy. In most cases, this energy comes from sunlight. Producers like plants take light energy and convert it into usable sugar energy through the process of photosynthesis. As animals consume the energy from plants, they are eaten by other animals and ultimately decompose back into soil. The energy moves through the ecosystem is via a food web. Two other most important concepts in the study of ecosystem are the habitat and niche. Habitat is a place where an organism or community of organisms lives. Organisms must get nutrition, shelter, water, and other things they needed in order to survive. Niche describes the role an organism plays in a community. It is the role and position species has in its environment, how it meets its needs for food and shelter, how it survives, and how it reproduces. Two organisms cannot occupy the same niche for very long. Eventually, one will occupy the other food and other resources, forcing the other to move or to go extinct. The interaction among organisms within or between overlapping niches can be characterized into 5 types of relationships, namely competition, predation, commensalism, mutualism, and parasitism. The last 3 subtypes are classically defined as relationships exhibiting symbiosis, but predation and competition can also be considered as forms of symbiosis. Symbiosis refers to a close relationship in which one or both organisms obtain a benefit. When one organism kills and eats another one, the relationship is called predation. For example, in this illustration, we can see a hawk eating a fish. The animal that eats is called the predator, and the animal which is eaten is referred to us as the prey. Another example is this one. We can see a wolf eating a sea lion. The wolf is the predator and the sea lion is the prey. And now let's proceed. Another ecological relationship is the competition. This occurs when an organism competes for the same need in their environment. They can compete about territory, food, mates, water, or sunlight. Competition also occurs in humans. For example, in a city highway, they compete for space. They also compete for food, the source of water, and other basic needs. Next is the relationship that occurs where both participating organisms benefit from each other. It is called mutualism. We can see this relationship in a butterfly and flower. The butterfly goes to the flower for food. It sucks its nectar in order to eat. In the same way, the flower benefits by having the butterfly carry its pollen grains in order to pollinate and reproduce sexually by transferring its pollen grains to another flower. Another example of mutualism exists is a spider crab and greenish-brown algae. The spider crab lives in a shallow area of the ocean floor, and the greenish-brown algae lives in the back of the spider crab, making crabs blend with the environment. Because of this, the algae gets a good place to live and the crab gets camouflage. Camouflage to protect itself from predators. Mutualism also occurs in clownfish and sea anemone. The clownfish lives within the tentacles of the sea anemone, and in return, the sea anemone receives cleaning and protection because of the fish. Another common ecological relationship in an ecosystem is the commensalism. In this relationship, an organism is benefited while the other organism is unaffected. One typical example is the orchid plant and a tree. In this relationship, the orchid is growing and clings to the tree for support and for reaching out the sunlight. Through this, the orchid can make its own food and its roots can absorb moisture from the air. On the other hand, the tree is unaffected as the orchid clings on it. In commensalism, the one that benefited is called the commensal, while the one that is not affected is called host. Another example of commensalism is the relationship between the cattle and cattle egret. The cattle egret eats the insects that can be seen in the body of the cattle. While the egret is eating the insects, the cattle remains unaffected and just continues to eat the grass. In this example, the egret is the commensal and the cattle is the host. The last ecological relationship that we are going to discuss is parasitism. If you have seen those dot-like structures on your dog, you should be worried because this dot is actually a parasite. It sucks the blood of the dog for its nutrients. This is a typical example of a parasitism. In this picture, we can see that the parasite, which is the tape, sucks the blood and harms the dog, which is the host. Another example, in humans, one common parasite is the lice. They are holding and living in the hair of humans until they grow and become adult lice or kuto. Once they become adult lice or kuto, they suck the blood in our head for their own nutrients. In this example, the host is the human, specifically in the hair of the human, and the parasite is the lice. Before we have our quiz, let us have a quick recap first.